Hello and welcome to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. My name is Mehmet, and as you know, in each episode, I cover different topics from emerging technologies like cybersecurity, AI, blockchain, and different topics related also to startups and businesses. And sometimes I have guests with me who are themselves entrepreneurs or subject matter experts or both at the same time. And today, I am pleased to have with me Sam. Sam, who's joining me from New Zealand today. Sam, thank you very much for being on the show. If you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you are up to. Our topic today is very interesting, I would say. So I will leave it to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mehmet. It is an absolute pleasure to be on your show. Just to give a bit of a background about myself, I've been an entrepreneur for over the last 15 years or so. And in that, I've built a startup in e commerce and esports and software development and stuff, and so on. I've written books on tech startup. I've spoken at events like TEDx and quite a few different conferences around the globe. Over the last year and a half or 2 years, I've been involved full time, mostly in Web3. I've been running podcasts on Web3. And I've recently launched a podcast on artificial intelligence where I invite a stand up comedian and we just have fun with everything that's been going on in the world of artificial intelligence and the latest in the tech world. Um, what I'm doing currently, it is I am advising quite a few blockchain and artificial intelligence startups, mostly based out of US or mostly based out of San Francisco. So that's my full-time thing, is to work as an advisor, consultant, and just see what is out there. And yeah, quite passionate about all things blockchain, Web3, crypto, AI. So feel free to ask me any questions about the tech side of things or how they relate to everyday people. I'm very happy to talk about all that.
That's very, I would say, can feel it from now. We will have a very rich episode because a lot of things that we can cover. Now, I want to start with Web3. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and again, what the reason I'm asking you, Sam, and while I was preparing for the episode, like I know you've a subject matter expert in all the topic that you mentioned, right? Now, for someone who is not too much technical, and for someone who might know a little bit about what is the Web 2, can you tell us in a simple form what is this big hype about Web 3?
Absolutely. I can definitely describe to someone who's not from a technical background what is Web3. So these are generally quite large topics, and that include a subset of large number of technologies that come together and they are defined as that. So someone saying mobile technology. Now the mobile tech itself could be very big. So it could include things like the app store, and it could include things like the the infrastructure on which mobile tech is built. It could include GPS systems and so much more. So it is a collection of technologies. It is not just one technology as such. And same thing with Web3. It is a collection of technologies. But the whole idea behind Web3 is that it is decentralized, and it is a technology that is safe to give power back to people. So, what do I mean by that? So, when people talk about Web 1, they generally talk about the internet of back in the days in the early 90s or late 90s. I think if you'd remember, most of the websites were static websites or just website with content that you go there, you read that, and it was very unidirectional. Whereas Web 2 came and it brought with it a whole another way of interacting with it, with social media, where it was not just one way, it was more of a two-way. It was read and write. So you could not only read the websites, you could interact by leaving comments, by sharing it, and interact in a much richer way. And it built tens of thousands of companies around the world, whether they were digital marketing companies or all sorts of new businesses. were enabled because of those of Web2 technology, especially some things like influencer and even the podcast or even content creators, because with social media they could spread further, their messages could spread further, and that was the Web2. um, Once again, Web2 is not just one thing, it is a collection of technologies that enabled it. Same thing with Web3, it takes it one step further. It allows you to not read and write and share, but it also allows you to own. So this way with Web3, because there is a whole another conversation or technology called blockchain, which allows you to have governance without the government or without a centralized ownership of a company like Facebook or Google or anyone. So this allows everyone to come together, create a platform, or someone to create a platform and then divide it into separate blocks that different people around the world can own in form of tokens or coins or any other sort of a format, but there is no central authority and everyone can take part in the decision making of that project. So this is in theory what the promise of Web3 is, or where Web3 is taking the technology world. Having said that, there are still a lot of challenges, and we are still far from this utopian view or utopian reality. There are challenges around all sorts of things, around speed, around security, around safety, around
Mhm.
user interface, because still a lot of these things are still hard to use. Like my parents are not, I don't see them using digital wallet or anything anytime soon until they become even more easier to use.
So, if I want to simplify what you said, Sam, regarding Web3, so if we think about, and I think people will understand what we are saying. So, Web 1, Web 2, from technology perspective, I needed to rely on someone to host for me the website
Yes,
and to
yes,
control the website, right? And
yes,
put the policies of the website. Web 3, it kinds of democratize the
yes.
ownership of the website. Am I correct?
Yes, 100%. You said it. So, say for example, it's like you want to um, you want to create a website or you want space on the internet. You need to go to like AWS or some sort of a hosting platform. However, it's like, say you want to create your own token, say Mehmet coin. You can go to any chain and deploy a smart contract, and create, like, I don't know, 10 billion mammoth coins, and then start giving these mammoth coins out to anyone who is promoting your podcast. And then there is no authority. Once the coin goes out to someone, it is in their digital wallet. You have no authority based on what's written in the smart contract, obviously. Then you have no authority. They own that. That is there. It's up to them. You cannot recall it back. You cannot do anything to it. Whereas in Web 2, it was a very different way of thinking. So, what Web3 allows is governance without a government. So, you could create something like a decentralized autonomous organization and then create tokens in that. And whoever owns tokens get a say to vote in it. And all this can be allowed using, there's a lot of different Web3 platforms that would allow you to create a DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization, and run it as well. So you could do that for your next company, and it could be a more democratic way of running your company. Good or bad, I don't know, but that's just what the technology is
Mhm.
allowing. Wasn't allowed before.
Fine. I'm a guy who is from technical background, but I understand business. This is why I worked as a consultant for long years. Now,
Yes,
I'm a huge believer, Sam, that any technology that comes out, um, it comes in different shapes. There are technologies that come out and solve problems, right? And there are technologies that come out, they are cool, but still we need to find problems that this technology can solve with, right? So
Yes.
where did you put Web3 for someone like me who's a consultant and who would go to a client and, hey, you know what? I think your problem can be solved with Web3.
That is a very good question. And this is a question that I do ponder about. And there are some use cases, but not enough. Because at the moment, a lot of the problems that Web3 is solving, they were created by Web3 itself. So, um, and also it's like, there are blockchain experts and who go and advise businesses and stuff, and they start with the technology first. I think that it is a wrong approach to start with technology first, because if you're a blockchain expert and then if you're a hammer, everything is a nail. You just want to hit everything as if you're a hammer. So that's like a saying in English. So if you're a blockchain expert, you want to just input that technology, or look for problems to solve with that technology, that probably those problems don't yet exist. But what we can look at is some of the things that um, what we can look at is some of the things that this technology has already solved, and some of the killer apps that this technology has built. One of those is like the double spend problem that Bitcoin solved, or like blockchain solves, because the concept of blockchain is, it's pretty much, blockchain is a database. It's just a different type of database. So in a centralized
Mhm,
database, you can write and rewrite and defrag the database again, and then rewrite again. So that's just the standard sort of database that where most of the data is stored. Whereas in blockchain, a new record is added at the end of the chain, instead of going, and you cannot go and rewrite anything earlier in the chain. So just the records are added, and it has so it's immutable in a way. A lot of the blockchains, I mean, there are different types of blockchains, but most of them are immutable, and they are permissionless, and they are a lot more transparent. So you can get, like, it is traceable. So you would want to use blockchain where you want characteristics of immutability, where you want characteristics of permissionlessness. So say if you're building something in open source and you want more adoption and you want more people to build on it, then you would want to use something like a blockchain where no one is in charge and it is out in the open. So it's just like, there are, um, like, for example, um, in a traditional sort of traditional finance, there's about 200 different currencies, or 190 different currencies, or maybe slightly less than that in the world. But in when it comes to crypto coins, there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of coins, because there is no central body saying that you can or you cannot start. You can go and deploy a smart contract in the next 5 minutes and deploy a coin, and create your own coin. So that just gives you an example of creating something which is in an open source. There will be a lot of rubbish in that as well, but it does give you that permission. So wherever you want something permissionless, wherever you want
mhm,
something immutable, because you cannot go and rewrite that, or change or edit that sequence, or that change, you can only make additions to it. So yeah, so those, wherever you need those characteristics, you would do that. One obvious use case is money, and one obvious thing that is solving problem is stable coins. Because what does happen in the crypto is that the prices run up and down all the time, and you cannot run a business like that when you don't know your costs are going to be $10,000 or 2,000 or 1,000 or 100,000. So you don't want fluctuation, and stable coins solve that. So stable coins are the killer app, because you can move and pay your employees and stuff, which are all around the world, especially more so in Web3 than other tech, because decentralization is such a core ethos of the whole ecosystem, that most Web3 companies I talk with, they all have distributed staff around the world. And one of the easiest ways to pay everyone is using different is using a stable coin, and then they know exactly what they're going to be paid at the end of the month. If you say someone, I'll pay you zero point 0.1 ethereum, or say 1 ethereum, then it could be $1,800, could be 2,500, could be 800, who knows. But this way, if you say I'll pay you 800 USDC or USDT or something like that, then they know exactly what amount they're getting paid. So that's just one example of
Hmm.
stable coins. The other example is in governance. And if you want to create a DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization, and you don't want to be, say, you want to create that for your CTO show, and but you don't always want to be in charge, you don't want to run it. So you could create a DAO, and you could sell the tokens in it, and whoever owns the tokens gets to decide who the next guest would be, or whatever would be, or you want to keep it completely autonomously running, and even people will vote on who the next host would be, and whoever has more tokens can decide that. And eventually you can sell out all your tokens, and people might choose you to be the host, and they have to again pay you from that tokens. So there are things that you can build on it that weren't possible in past. And also I think that the killer apps that will come out on Web3 in future will not be anything that we have in our current world. Is just like, when in the early 1990s you had the brick Motorola phone. If you tell them that what type of a phone would you want in future, or what will you do with a mobile phone in future, they would only think of a smaller phone or a more portable phone that you can fit in your pocket, and you could use it to make faster calls or something like that. They would not think of that in 2015 people will be taking pictures of their breakfast and putting them on social media on their phone, or they'll be watching people dancing on the phone. This is what phones are mostly used for. How many hours do people watch TikTok versus
Hmm.
how many hours do they make um, spend on doing phone calls? So it's like the use case is completely different to what people could not even imagine, because the technology wasn't there. So what we will use blockchain for, we don't know. It's just like when in 2008 and 9, when the whole financial crisis happened, like the global financial recession and crisis and all that happened in 2008. What happened was that the came Bitcoin out of that. And at that time, the the founders of Bitcoin would not be even thinking about NFTs, but that's what it ended up as. In 2021 and 22, people were trading a large number of NFTs, and it became a speculative market, and people were trading all these monkey GIF images and stuff. So it's like they would not have imagined. It's like we cannot imagine how how and technology that enables governance without government will be used, or how a technology that allows things to be more permissionless, be more immutable, be used, and allows decentralization, will be used in 10 years time or 12 years time.
So, what I can get from what you said, Sam, and to simplify more
Yes.
to uh, to the audience, the core of Web3 is blockchain, actually, and what we are trying to do is to build based on the blockchain, which is uh, again between brackets, between quotes, whatever you want to put. Blockchain
Yes.
is not cryptocurrency. Don't mix. I'm telling
Yeah.
this to the audience. Don't mix the both. So our core is blockchain, which is like the I covered the topic couple of times and the use cases. Now I see from like what you are saying, and it's similar something I see also with the metaverse concept as well. Right?
Yes.
So let's get the technology and let's see how we can fit things into this technology, right? So and now we start to talk about, okay, let's take the retail to the metaverse. Let's take, I don't know, like the leisure to the metaverse. Let's take the hospitality to the metaverse. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Web3 from the description that you gave. Now, in your opinion, and this is again something I get asked a lot, and I
Yes.
want to now ask you. So people, I meet them. What are you up to? We are up to cryptos, Web3, blockchain, right?
Yes.
And I said, can you explain more, please? Now,
Yes.
one thing I want personally to understand, and I think a lot of people want to understand here, when whether we talk about the blockchain, and I mean here by blockchain as technology, we always hear, especially in the Web3, and just you gave the example of the DAO, decentralized
Yes.
organizations, we have to generate some currency, right? But at the end of the day, this currency, it exists only in the realm of that world, and how I can use it outside. The idea that I want to convey, and I want to take your opinion about, like
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
why I always have to, in when talking about blockchain, to tie it to a cryptocurrency. Why
You
I
don't.
cannot
You don't need
operate.
to.
Okay. So can
Yeah.
you clarify this for us a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. The thing is that blockchain is something that enables cryptocurrencies to exist, because cryptocurrencies cannot exist on a centralized database. Because if on a centralized database, it's like, think about it. It's like AWS, like say Amazon or Facebook or any company creating their own currency in a centralized database. They have the access to it, so and they can change the amount every single day of amount in circulation, who holds it, if they can see in the database, and then they can go and change that change that data, and that is something, and that is what we already have in our current financial system. So that's, then we are going back to the same financial system. So blockchain, since it is decentralized, it allows for the creation of a currency that is running based on maths and the rules in the algorithm, instead of the rules by the federal government or by a government or a bank. And when it's rules by maths, then it's not reliant on a single government. It is universal, so it can be used anywhere. And with the other question you were, or the other thing that you did mention was that about metaverse. So why is sort of metaverse tied in that? Because metaverse has assets, like digital assets, whether it is digital property, digital clothes, digital characters, whatever it might be. You want to be able to have some autonomy and freedom over that. So you can take your character out from one metaverse and go into another game, go into another metaverse. And if they all live on an open blockchain, that is possible. So that's why there were some people who weren't fond of um, Facebook's metaverse, because they did not want to be locked in to that, because it was more of a centralized thing. So hence the whole rise of the whole NFTs and things that happened, um, because of Web3, because of blockchain, because of decentralization. So you can buy your NFT on OpenSea, and then it's a digital asset, but it lives on chain, and then you can sell that anywhere. I mean, it is a lot more complex than that. And there are still centralized parts to NFTs. Not It's not completely decentralized. So I can talk about that if you want, but we'd be going more into the technology side of things, because there are shortcomings to that as well.
Yeah, yeah, I can. No, no, fair point, and I think you made it very clear, Sam. And I think the doubts are now cleared out, I would say. Now, which I would say, because a lot of the things you mentioned, couple of use cases, but where do you see both these technologies? I mean, blockchain and Web3. Which industries are the first ones we could see them disrupted by these technologies, and what could be the future ahead of us looks like, let's say, and I'm not talking about long time, in 3, 5 years from now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's still like for this tech, it's still hard. So right now, there are three things that this technology is used for predominantly. Like if you look at it, the first one is transfer of value. So people want to send money, and share. So it's like when I was just a couple of months ago, I was at a big conference in US, and we were all taking different Ubers and stuff. And then we want to send money to each other, if like small amounts, because we would share Ubers, and we'd be so many different people and doing so many different things and activities and stuff. We would just use our digital wallets and our digital IDs, and we'll just USDC or USDT or something like that, or BUSD or something like that, and just send money to each other and stuff, because we're all from different countries. We didn't have another app that they use in US to share and pay each other. So transfer of value is definitely quite high up there. And so the transfer of value could be paying someone in crypto. I have got paid in crypto. I have paid people in crypto over the last 2 years, 2 3 years. And it works really really well, really really fast, compared to sending money through the bank, which can take 3 to 5 days, especially if you're going through 2 or 3 or 5 different countries. You have got people working for you, and so it's super convenient. It's just few seconds, and the transaction fees is extremely low based on which currency, what you use, um, and at what time you are doing the transaction and stuff. So the transfer of value is number one. The other one is store of value. So Bitcoin is a prime example of that, where people use it as a store of value. People don't use Bitcoin for transactions. No one is paying anyone in Bitcoin generally. In fact, 65 to 68% of the people who own Bitcoin, they have not touched it in the last 12 months. So the people buy it and hold it. Bitcoin is used for buying and holding and appreciating, or used as a hedge against other types of assets. That say if the stocks go down, or if some other or real estate goes down, that this is just used as a diversification, or and it is a much easier asset to move around the world. You just need to remember your key, and you can access it on the blockchain anytime, anywhere, as long as you have access to internet anywhere in the world. So um so so that's the second use case. And then the third use case, that um is not really a use case, and that is something that is the speculation, the gambling, the fun aspect of it. And and those are the three use cases. So even if you look at these three, the top two are disrupting the finance sector. So I would think that the finance sector would be the biggest sector to be disrupted. There is so much innovation happening in that, and we haven't gotten access to all of it yet, because there is some still a lot of places there's regulation to be dealt with, and there's still lots of things that need to be ironed out. But I do think that decentralized finance, or regular or traditional finance, would be the first to be disrupted by this tech. And then the second would be entertainment and all those sort of things.
Yeah, that's and I started to see other use cases, like for example, people start to talk about disrupting the what you call it, um, supply chain, for example.
Yes.
I started to see some articles talking about also how this can be implemented in creating, let's say, a better even user experience, and of course combining it with other use cases like the entertainment sector. Of course, like
Yes.
it's the biggest one, gaming industry, and these kinds of industries are like directly leveraging the technology. Now, Sam, I always like to do some intersections when it comes to
Yes.
technology. Now,
I
let's
have a
focus.
before we begin
Yes,
that, I have a comment on that. All those things, like logistics and a lot of those things. we have talked about, and they have been talked about in this space, in the blockchain space, and I have worked with some of those companies as well in past. But the real usage of how many people are using it, it is minuscule, or how many companies are using it, or how many transactions are being done on that. It is minuscule. If you look at all the transactions, it is these three things pretty much cover up all this, which is transfer of value, store of value, which is means first one is trade, and then the trading, speculation, and fun part of it. So those three are covers pretty much
Sure.
99% of the current use case. In future, we there's so many, there's like probably thousands of different use cases people are exploring and playing with around identity, and lots and lots of different things.
Oh
um
yeah.
but it will come, it will, that we haven't seen real usage with that.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned something which makes sense before I continue. Like
Yes.
when you gave the example of the Motorola phone and what people were expected to see, like this is completely makes sense because like this is how humanity all the time
Yes.
have developed, and we were able to come out with other technologies, and this is why now with all the hype of emerging techs. Where do
Yes.
you see the future, especially now with AI, generative AI, combined maybe with blockchain Web3? What are the possibilities ahead of us?
So it is, um I am finding it. Okay, so the one place where AI could work in this scenario is that AI is really good at crunching through a large amount of data. So it is all the data that the blockchains are making. You give that data to AI to find trends, to find different things, or sort that, or analyze that. So I think that's would be the first cross section that I am seeing currently. But the other thing that I am seeing, what a lot of startups are doing, is giving their data to AI to analyze it or manipulate it, and then give it back to the customer. So pretty much a lot of the startups are using ChatGPT, or some sort of model in the backend, and they are just building the a much nicer, friendlier user interface. Just today, I saw like, for example, just not a Web3 example, but just today I saw a new app which integrates ChatGPT. It uses ChatGPT in the backend, but what it does is it attaches to your keyboard in iPhone. So, say for example, in iPhone, you want to send a message to your boss, but it will rewrite that message. So you just ask it to write this message as if I'm resigning because I bought a lottery ticket and I won $1 million, but write it in a much nicer way, and then it will type the whole message in a much nicer way. Or you wanna send a nice message to your wife, girlfriend, husband, whoever, and you can do that, and it will rewrite the message for you. So this is just an example of a Web2 example, but pretty much there are lots of startups building a user interface to use ChatGPT or another large language model in the backend, um, and serve data to people.
One thing I want to ask you about here, Sam, and this is related again to the discussion we were having a couple of minutes back on the like Web3 and the relation with blockchain cryptocurrencies. Now, do you think AI, whether it's ChatGPT or any other language model, we know that there are a lot of scams out there when it comes to anything related to blockchain and mainly
Oh,
cryptocurrencies.
lots, lots. Yes.
Right? Yeah. Do you think AI will be able to help us? I will give you a personal experience that it's happened
Yes,
to
yes.
me
Mm,
a lot. But of course, being a technical guy, I was lucky enough, but it could have happened to anyone else. So
yeah.
recently, there is a trend. Someone comes to you and he said, "Hey, I have this application, which is like it will break all the records. It's something never someone done before." Okay. and then they will tell you it's built on a Web3 technology powered, of course, by a cryptocurrency. And this coin gonna jump from 0.00000, I don't know how much cent, and it's gonna become like, I don't know, $10,000 or something like this. Do you think AI will be able at least to help us fight these scams a little bit, especially when it comes to Web3 and NFTs and cryptocurrencies?
Not really, because a lot of the AI is not used as a search engine. So it only takes data from past and then serves the result. So what it would need to do is, okay, so that is what you were describing was like a typical shitcoin or a rug pull, you know. So what happens in those is, there are few things, I can, what I can share in a human way is, I mean, it's very common. Everyone I know has been rug pulled, everyone I know has been, um anyone who's been in this industry like me for last 5 6 years 7 years have lost money at some time on one of these sort of scammy projects. So that is part and parcel, because when you have decentralization, anyone can start their own currency. So which is good and bad. So there are a lot of bad people in the world as well. And just like when the email was new back in the 1990s, it was full of scam and full of
Hmm.
spam messages. But then over time, email filters became better at recognizing spam and putting spam straight in the spam folder. So that was an opportunity that Gmail saw that as not a problem, but as an opportunity. And the same thing here. It's like there are few ways you know that it is a spam, and on how to find out it is a spam or not. First thing is you need to do research. That is the individual team of that project, whether it's an NFT project, metaverse, are they visible, are they known people, do they have a history of running good projects, what was their previous projects and stuff, you know. That is the first thing you would want to see. And then once again, this is a bit more technical, but you want to see if there's been any audits done on the smart contracts, because in the Web3 world, most things are, they are like, people build apps, they are called decentralized apps. And these decentralized apps are powered by smart contracts. So what is smart contract? Smart contract is nothing more than, you know, say for example, I have a digital asset, like say an NFT, and I sell that to you, and that NFT was created by artists X, Y, and Z. So some money should go to artists X, Y, and Z, and some money should come to me. So that would be written in the smart contract when the transaction happens. So in this case, someone should go and look at the smart contract, or you should see the audit has been done on it, so that that smart contract is not doing anything nefarious to your digital wallet. So once again, this technology is requiring people to be a bit more smarter, a bit more advanced, and not everyone is. So that's why we don't have full adoption of this technology yet. But what this um, technology that's been run on smart contracts that define all the rule, and then no one is the boss of anything. There are definitely massive challenges in this space with that. So it is very hard. And once again, if you participate in speculation, which I don't, so if you participate in speculation, there is a chance that at some point you'll get burned, because there is just a lot of temptation when there is such large amounts of money for people to, you know, to run away or to do things. And there have been lots and lots of projects that have gone bust because of this sort of short term thinking. And yeah, so that's why I don't indulge in speculation. You can indulge in it if you think it's just like gambling, it's just for fun. But yeah.
100%. And like a lot of people, again, they come to me and they say, "Hey, what do you think about investing?" And they said, "Guys, you're asking the right guy here, because they said, yeah, but it's like technology." I say, yeah, it is technology, but I am not a financial advisor at any mean.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, Sam, like it's completely uh, it's similar to when you do any investment, actually, even in the physical
Yes.
world. Like you should
Yeah.
whatever you describe now is actually what everyone would do. Let's say if you want to go like the very traditional way and go to the stock market investment,
Yes.
before you put your money like into a company, you would go and check, how many years they have been in business. You need to check, like their financial statements. You need to check, do they have
Exactly
too much
right. Yes.
loans? Do they have churn in number of customers? Like, of course, and
Yeah.
this applies to technology. And the what I hope that we can sort out with technology, and this is why I asked you about the AI. And I know that the AI needs information, but at least, when
Yes.
you take decisions, there is this due diligence that we can spread more so people can do this due diligence before taking decisions. Now, I want to shift gear a little bit and ask you about, the book that you have authored, Sam. I know that you have
Yes.
authored a book. If you can tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Before we go into the book, I have one last thing to share about that.
Sure.
Some of the smart contracts, when you even buy some of these coins, they are so sneaky. You know what they do in the smart contract? That is written that you can buy the coin, but you cannot sell the coin. So that's
Oh,
why it is very, very important to look at the audit, who has done the audit, and read it. Read that audit because it's written in plain English that what does that audit say? If the smart contract of that coin specifies something like that, or that you would be paying interest for holding it, or whatever something strange it might have, that over time the amount of coin you hold reduces automatically and part of it is burned or
yeah.
something, so you don't know. So that's why it is good to educate yourself in that industry if you want to participate in that. Just like if you want to participate in the share market, you either have a broker or you educate yourself. So the same
You,
thing over here.
Sam, it's very simple. I can give even a simpler example and not related to technology. When you go to buy a second-hand car, right?
Yes,
Yeah, you have to do all the due diligence. You need to see like
yes,
the what we call it here, the VIN number, the chassis number. You need to check if this car
yes.
had accident before. All this
Yeah.
and what you are mentioning, yeah, the auditing part. And before I go back to the book, I have to make this. Now, people might agree, might disagree with me. I think personally, the idea of full decentralization is not possible for this reason because you need an authority to audit, these smart contracts. Who we gonna um, trust for having the authenticity of this smart contracts platform?
So
I'm not saying we should not trust, but what I'm
yes,
saying, we are still far away from having, this superpower of not needing a kind of,
yes.
like
Central
someone who can
authority.
audit.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so currently what happens is that there are third party agencies who do audits like Certic, and there's lots of them. And they charge big money, and then they create the audit, and then you can go and read the audit. But now the onus is on the end user to go and read the audit. There is no regulatory agency um at the moment saying and clarifying that this is allowed, this is not allowed, this coin was good, bad. So it's just like, if you sell a health product, you don't have to go and read an audit or anything. You can be assured because that the government or the health authorities make sure that no one is selling poison on the supermarket shelf. So that is the big difference. So that has good and bad. So that's why if you want to create a health product or something, or pharmaceutical product, it will take you years and years to go through regulation in every country, at least 2 years or more, and a lot of paperwork. But then with decentralization, it's the good and bad. It's like a double-edged sword. So it cuts on both the sides. So it's like it gives allows a lot more innovation, but then there's also a lot of snake oil merchants selling fake stuff.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more, Sam, about your book.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, my book is called The 30-Day Startup, and then the whole idea in that is that if you want to build a startup, you build it really, really fast. So you build it in within 30 days, and so you build something called MVP, a minimum viable product, and so you build something really simplified version of the product, get it out there, get some feedback, and then improve from that. Because most of the products that you see today, um, did not look like that when they were first released. They
Yeah,
kept on improving, they kept on changing, they kept on adapting, especially in the technology sector, especially in software, even more so than hardware. So that's why the idea is to, if it's a software tech product, release it as fast as you can so you can start getting feedback.
that's great insight. Well, Sam, like I want to discuss a lot of more topics, but the time passed really fast for today's episode. Anything that this is my traditional last question now. Anything you wish that I asked you?
Um, Not really. I think you have done an excellent job at covering all the topics. The only thing I would mention about, um, that I am quite excited about my new podcast where
Yeah,
I converge comedy with technology. So I call a stand-up comedian to come and talk with me, and I talk about technology, and I get them to make fun of the the tech or fun of whatever
that's
the top,
cool.
just to make it simple and make it keep it fun and keep it light and interesting and stuff. So I try to
What's the name
break
of the
down.
show, Sam? What's the name of the show?
It's called Disruptia. Uh,
I
Disruptia
will
as
put
in,
it in the I will put it
yeah,
in
it's called
the description.
disruptia.news. So
Okay,
yeah, DISRUPTIA, and it's Disruptia AI News. So AI and tech news. Um,
but it's a very interesting one because you know I like to merge things. So you merge technology with or AI mainly
yes.
with comedy, which is really, really nice to have, I would say. Sam, really, I appreciated your time today. It's late in the evening for you. Thank you very much for being a guest with me here today on the CTO show. And as usual, and I'm saying this to the audience, if you are watching this on YouTube, please let us know your feedback. Don't forget to subscribe. We are trying to get for you the best of the best as usual. And if you are listening this over your favorite podcasting platform for the first time, also don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. We are bringing daily episodes for you. Sometimes I'm doing solo episodes, sometimes I'm having guests like Sam. And as usual, if you have any feedback or any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me by email, by reaching to the LinkedIn or Twitter profile. And again, if you are interested to be a guest, similar to Sam today, you can reach out to me and we can discuss and we can do the arrangement for that. And as usual, stay tuned to our next episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Thank you very much. And up till next time.
Thank you, Mehmet. It's fantastic. Thank you very much.